Yuki Tsunoda is back in a Formula One race seat this weekend. Paddock sources have confirmed the news. Isack Hadjar injured his wrist over the summer break. The rumors suggest he was training at the gym, possibly K1 fighting practice, and the injury is serious enough that he cannot race at Zandvoort. Racing Bulls have confirmed Yuki as his replacement. He will partner Arvid Lindblad this weekend, and Liam Lawson has been called up to Red Bull to race alongside Max Verstappen. Japanese fans are delighted, and for Yuki personally, this is a rare and vital opportunity to prove himself in front of every team principal and technical director in the paddock. At exactly the moment, the 2027 driver market is heating up. For the Motion Report, this is our Yuki return special, what just changed, and what it means for the driver market we were talking about last week. Hadjar's wrist injury broke publicly this week. Racing Bulls insiders confirmed the situation off the record ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix weekend, and the paddock reaction has been immediate. The specifics of the injury are still being confirmed, but paddock sources indicate the wrist damage happened during Hadjar's summer training program. K1 fighting has been mentioned as a possibility. The Frenchman is a keen follower of cage fighting and hard fitness training, including heavy bag work. If confirmed, that would explain why the injury is significant enough to rule him out of a full race weekend, rather than something Hadjar could push through with medical support, as we saw with Lance Stroll's injury. Racing Bulls made the practical decision quickly. Yuki Tsunoda was the natural call. He is present at every race. He knows the team from his AlphaTauri and Racing Bulls seasons, and Alain Permain rates him highly. He knows the current Racing Bulls car through his reserve driver work, and he does not need setup time to be immediately competitive at Zandvoort. This is unfortunate for Ayumu Iwasa, but Yuki clearly outranks him on recent race experience, and his Red Bull reserve role puts him first in line. The Red Bull family internal shuffle then followed. Liam Lawson has been promoted to the senior Red Bull seat for one weekend, racing alongside Max Verstappen. That gives Lawson a rare opportunity to demonstrate his top team credentials in front of the Red Bull ownership at exactly the moment his own future is being decided. For Lawson, this weekend matters as much as it does for Yuki, if for different reasons. Everything we said in our last driver market update just became far more relevant for Yuki. We said Yuki was suddenly one of the most underpriced drivers in the 2027 silly season, that his odds had improved dramatically as the Bottas and Williams situations developed, and that a real possibility existed of him returning to the grid before the end of 2026 through a mid-season contract announcement. That mid-season return has now happened. Not through a permanent contract, but through a substitution that gives Yuki the same platform. A race weekend to prove himself in front of every team principal on the grid. The specific benchmark he has to beat is Arvid Lindblad. Lindblad has been the surprise rookie of the Racing Bulls season. Beating him, or at minimum matching him closely across qualifying and the race, will send a very specific signal to Cadillac, because that is where the Yuki to Cadillac calculation currently sits. Bottas is under a magnifying glass at Cadillac. Graham Lowden, who publicly defended Bottas across the season, is now gone. Dan Torres has committed to Perez staying for 2027, but has never made the same commitment to Bottas. Yuki delivering a strong Zandvoort weekend against Lindblad puts him directly in the conversation to replace Bottas for 2027, with even the possibility of a move before season end. And that conversation involves not just his lap times, but the Honda commercial network and the Japanese market access he brings to a Cadillac and General Motors project that needs both. For the Japanese audience, this is significant news. Yuki has been fighting for a return with limited leverage all summer. He now has the leverage of one race weekend to change his own trajectory. The rest of the paddock movement we discussed in our last update has continued to develop. Williams officially confirmed Alex Albon for 2027. Paddock sources indicate both parties are happy with the arrangement, and James Vowles has publicly settled on Albon as the anchor driver of the team's continuing project. That closes one Williams question. We were wrong on that one. We expected Alpine to make the first official announcement after the summer break. The same sources indicate Carlos Sainz should confirm with Williams soon, though this is not yet fixed. As we said in previous reports, Sainz is stuck and clearly unhappy at Williams. The driver market is blocked by Max Verstappen's unresolved decision at Red Bull. Audi has Hülkenberg locked in for the moment. The obvious destinations for Sainz are either non-committal or full. If Max decides to stay at Red Bull, Sainz has nowhere better to go than Williams. If Max takes the sabbatical, everything reopens, including the Red Bull senior seat that would be Sainz's most attractive alternative. Either way, watch for a Sainz and Williams announcement in the coming weeks. Not because Sainz has changed his mind about wanting to leave, but because the alternatives to Williams remain closed until Max moves. Which brings us back to Bottas at Cadillac. We still expect a decision between Monza and Singapore. The Yuki demonstration at Zandvoort may accelerate that timeline if he delivers a strong weekend against Lindblad. If Yuki outqualifies Lindblad, outraces him, or scores points where Lindblad does not, the Cadillac calculation becomes much simpler. Bottas out, Yuki in. Honda commercial network unlocked for General Motors. Japanese market access delivered. 3 specific things are worth watching at Zandvoort. First, the Yuki versus Lindblad qualifying battle. That is the single most important comparison of the weekend for Yuki's 2027 prospects. Not the finishing position, the head-to-head against his teammate on Saturday afternoon. Second, Liam Lawson at Red Bull. His weekend will be examined by everyone who might be considering him for 2027 seats elsewhere. A clean, competitive weekend keeps his options open. A crash or a significant gap to Max closes them. Third, whether Yuki looks comfortable in the car from the first session. If he adapts quickly and immediately runs pace, the Cadillac conversation moves forward. If he needs multiple sessions to find his rhythm, the message to team principals is more cautious. For Japanese fans, this weekend is a real reason for celebration. Yuki is back on the grid. He has a rare opportunity to demonstrate what many of us have been saying, that his Formula One career is not over and that his return to a full-time seat for 2027 is a real possibility. We will be watching every session closely. Full Paddock report to follow. If you like this kind of reporting, hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel bring you more Formula One analysis grounded in real sources. For the Motion Report, my name is David Schneider. Thank you for watching.